Soft piano music echoed through the small church in Dallas, Texas. White flowers decorated every aisle. Family members smiled. Friends whispered excitedly. Every seat was filled. Ethan Carter stood beside the altar, wearing a rented black suit that cost less than one dinner inside an expensive restaurant. None of that mattered. Ethan Carter believed love could build a beautiful future even without money. Sarah Carter walked closer with a warm smile. "Everything looks perfect," Sarah Carter said. "Mom and Dad would feel proud today." Ethan Carter smiled. 5 years of hard work finally brought this day. Sarah Carter squeezed Ethan Carter's shoulder. "Emily Brooks loves Ethan Carter. Nothing else matters." Ethan Carter nodded. Every overtime shift, every missed holiday, every sleepless night finally feels worth something. The church doors opened. Emily Brooks entered wearing a beautiful white wedding dress. Every guest stood. Soft music filled the room. Ethan Carter felt every painful year disappear inside one hopeful moment. Emily Brooks slowly walked toward the altar. A few steps before reaching Ethan Carter, Emily Brooks suddenly stopped. Silence replaced the music. Confused faces looked toward Emily Brooks. The pastor smiled politely. "Emily Brooks, everything all right?" Emily Brooks took a deep breath. "No." Another silence filled the church. Ethan Carter stepped forward. "Emily Brooks, what happened?" Emily Brooks looked directly into Ethan Carter's eyes. "Emily Brooks cannot marry Ethan Carter." Gasps spread across the church. One elderly woman covered a shocked face. Several guests exchanged nervous looks. Ethan Carter frowned. "Emily Brooks, maybe nerves cause fear." Ethan Carter understands. Emily Brooks slowly shook a head. "No." The single word felt colder than winter. Emily Brooks folded both hands together. "Ethan Carter deserves honesty." Ethan Carter forced a weak smile. Honesty never scares Ethan Carter. Emily Brooks looked around the church before speaking louder. "Ethan Carter works inside a repair shop." "Correct." "Ethan Carter rents a tiny apartment." "Correct." "Ethan Carter drives an old truck." "Correct." Emily Brooks crossed folded arms. "Ethan Carter dreams too much." Confusion covered every face. Sarah Carter stepped closer. "Emily Brooks, stop talking like this." Emily Brooks ignored Sarah Carter. "Ethan Carter promised a better future." Ethan Carter still believes that future will come. Emily Brooks laughed softly. "Belief cannot pay bills." Every word landed like another knife. Ethan Carter worked every weekend. Emily Brooks answered immediately. "Working harder does not mean becoming richer." Ethan Carter saved every dollar. Emily Brooks shrugged. "Saving small dollars never creates a luxury life." The church became completely silent again. A young cousin quietly began crying. The pastor cleared a throat. Perhaps both families should continue this conversation privately. Emily Brooks shook a head again. "No, every guest deserves the truth." Emily Brooks pointed toward Ethan Carter. Emily Brooks refuses to spend an entire lifetime struggling financially. Ethan Carter felt the floor disappear beneath polished shoes. Ethan Carter believed love mattered more than money. Emily Brooks sighed. Emily Brooks believed the same thing years ago. What changed? Reality. Emily Brooks looked toward the guests. Friend from college own expensive houses. Friend from college travel across Europe. Friends from college wear designer clothes. Ethan Carter offers another year of waiting. Ethan Carter swallowed hard. Ethan Carter asked only for patience. Emily Brooks answered without hesitation. Emily Brooks already waited 5 years. Sarah Carter stepped between both sides. Emily Brooks, enough. Emily Brooks looked directly at Sarah Carter. "No." Sarah Carter frowned. Ethan Carter sacrificed everything. Emily Brooks replied coldly. "Sacrifice does not create success." Tears slowly gathered inside Ethan Carter's eyes. Ethan Carter loved Emily Brooks with every heartbeat. Emily Brooks remained expressionless. Love without security feels empty. Several guests quietly walked toward the exit, uncomfortable watching the painful argument. One older man whispered, "Poor Ethan." Another guest lowered a head without speaking. Ethan Carter looked around the church. Embarrassment covered every smiling face from only minutes earlier. Ethan Carter looked back at Emily Brooks. Does another man exist? Emily Brooks remained silent for several long seconds. Finally, Emily Brooks answered, yes. The single answer shattered every remaining piece of hope inside Ethan Carter's heart. Ethan Carter stared at Emily Brooks without blinking. Who? Emily Brooks took another slow breath. Brandon Collins. The unfamiliar name echoed inside the silent church. Ethan Carter never heard that name. Brandon Collins owns several companies. Brandon Collins offered the future Emily Brooks always wanted. So 5 years together meant nothing? Emily Brooks looked away. 5 years mattered. Reality mattered more. Sarah Carter stepped forward with anger. Emily Brooks accepted every sacrifice. Emily Brooks accepted every birthday gift. Emily Brooks accepted every promise. Today, Emily Brooks throws everything away. Emily Brooks answered calmly. Emily Brooks refuses to apologize for choosing a better life. Ethan Carter slowly removed the wedding ring from a trembling finger. So every smile became a lie? Emily Brooks remained silent. So every promise became empty? Another silence followed. The pastor lowered a Bible. Today should end peacefully. Ethan Carter placed the wedding ring on the altar. Ethan Carter wishes Emily Brooks happiness. Emily Brooks looked surprised. No shouting. No. No anger. No. No begging. No. Emily Brooks folded both arms. Ethan Carter gives up very easily. Ethan Carter smiled sadly. Love cannot survive without respect. Sarah Carter walked beside Ethan Carter. Time to leave. Several guests quietly moved aside, creating a path toward the church doors. Embarrassed whispers followed every step. Ethan Carter deserved better. What a terrible ending. Emily Brooks made a huge mistake. Ethan Carter ignored every voice. Bright sunlight waited outside, but nothing felt warm anymore. Sarah Carter opened the passenger door. Sarah Carter can drive. Ethan Carter shook a head. Ethan Carter needs time alone. Sarah Carter hugged Ethan Carter tightly. Nothing that happened today defines Ethan Carter. Everything feels broken. Broken hearts heal. Ethan Carter hopes Sarah Carter feels right. Sarah Carter stepped back. Call anytime. I will. Ethan Carter entered the old pickup truck. The engine struggled before finally starting. The church disappeared inside the rearview mirror. Every memory from the last 5 years returned one after another. Late night, overtime. Cheap dinners shared with Emily Brooks. Birthday surprises bought with saved paychecks. Dreams about children. Dreams about a small house. Dreams about growing old together. Every dream disappeared before lunchtime. Rain suddenly began falling across the windshield. The slow rhythm matched the emptiness growing inside Ethan Carter's heart. The phone rang. Unknown number. Ethan Carter almost ignored the call. The ringing continued. Ethan Carter answered. Hello. A calm woman's voice spoke. Good afternoon. Victoria Hayes speaking. Ethan Carter knows no Victoria Hayes. Victoria Hayes understands. Victoria Hayes represents Carter Global Holdings. Wrong number. Please wait. Ethan Carter sighed. Fine. Does Ethan Carter remember William Carter? The question created immediate confusion. Very little. William Carter disappeared many years ago. William Carter recently passed away. Silence filled the truck. Sorry to hear that. William Carter left detailed legal instructions. Ethan Carter cannot help. Actually, Ethan Carter became the primary beneficiary. Ethan Carter frowned. Beneficiary? Correct. There must be another Ethan Carter. No mistake exists. Ethan Carter owns almost nothing. Beginning tomorrow, Ethan Carter may own more than imagined. The statement sounded impossible. What exactly does Victoria Hayes mean? Victoria Hayes cannot discuss details over the phone. Ethan Carter still does not understand. William Carter left an inheritance requiring an immediate meeting. What kind of inheritance? A business empire. Ethan Carter laughed bitterly. Today already feels unbelievable. Tomorrow may feel even more unbelievable. Ethan Carter still thinks another mistake happened. No mistake happened. When should Ethan Carter arrive? 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Where? Victoria Hayes gave the office address. Ethan Carter will think about everything. Victoria Hayes strongly recommends arriving. The call ended. Ethan Carter pulled the truck onto the side of the road. Rain continued falling. Only 1 hour earlier, Ethan Carter believed life had completely ended. Now another door unexpectedly opened. Ethan Carter looked through the wet windshield and whispered quietly, "Maybe today stole one future, because tomorrow plans to reveal another." Sleep never came after the wedding disaster. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Emily Brooks saying, "Love cannot pay bills." Those words kept repeating inside my head until sunrise. When morning finally arrived, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and barely recognized myself. My phone buzzed. "Mr. Carter," Victoria Hayes said, "I hope you are still coming. I almost stay home. I strongly suggest keeping the appointment. I'll be there. I'll be waiting." The call ended. I drove across Dallas in my old pickup truck. Every traffic light felt longer than usual. Part of me believed the phone call had been some cruel joke. Another part wanted one small reason to believe life could still surprise me. 30 minutes later, I stopped outside a massive glass building. The words Carter Global Holdings stretched across the entrance in polished silver letters. I whispered, "This place can't have anything to do with me." A security guard opened the front door. "Good morning. Are you Ethan Carter?" "I am. Ms. Victoria Hayes is expecting you." The guard handed me a visitor badge. 22nd floor. "Thank you." The elevator climbed quietly. When the doors opened, expensive artwork covered every wall. Marble floors reflected soft lighting. Everything looked completely different from the repair shop, where I had spent the last 5 years fixing engines and changing tires. Victoria Hayes walked toward me with a welcoming smile. "Mr. Carter, thank you for coming. I still don't understand why I'm here." "You will." Victoria Hayes offered a handshake. "I'm sorry for your loss." "My loss?" "William Carter passed away 3 weeks ago." "I barely knew William Carter." "I know." Victoria Hayes guided me into a large office overlooking the city. "Please have a seat." I sat carefully. This office probably costs more than my apartment. Victoria Hayes smiled politely. "It does." I laughed nervously. At least someone is honest. Victoria Hayes opened a thick folder. "Mr. Carter, before discussing the inheritance, I need to ask a few questions." "Go ahead." "Did William Carter ever contact you?" "No." "Did anyone ever tell you William Carter followed your life?" "No." Victoria Hayes nodded. "That matches everything in our records." "My records?" "William Carter hired investigators many years ago." I frowned. "Investigators?" "Only to observe, never to interfere." "Why?" "William Carter wanted to know whether money created your character." I leaned forward. "What does that mean?" Victoria Hayes slid several photographs across the desk. I picked up the first picture. It showed me repairing an elderly woman's broken truck. I remember this day. The customer couldn't afford the repair bill. I fixed the truck anyway. Victoria Hayes nodded. "William Carter knew." I picked up another photograph. "I gave free brakes to a single father." William Carter knew. Another picture showed me carrying groceries into Sarah Carter's house. "I helped my sister after surgery." William Carter knew. I looked at Victoria Hayes. "Someone watched every important moment?" "Yes." "That feels strange." "I understand." I placed the photographs back onto the desk. "Why never introduce William Carter?" Victoria Hayes opened another folder. William Carter wrote a personal letter answering that question. Victoria Hayes handed me an envelope. My hand shook while opening it. The letter began, "Dear Ethan, asterisk, if this letter reaches your hands, William Carter is gone. Asterisk." I swallowed hard. Asterisk. William Carter made many mistakes during life. Pride destroyed many relationships. Pride also destroyed the relationship with your father. Regret followed every year after that decision. Asterisk. My eyes remained fixed on every sentence. Asterisk. William Carter wanted to meet Ethan Carter many times, but fear always won. Instead, William Carter watched quietly, hoping Ethan Carter would become an honest man without family wealth changing anything. Asterisk. I lowered the letter. I don't know what to say. Victoria Hayes spoke softly. There's more. I continued reading. Asterisk. Every report proved Ethan Carter chose kindness over money. Ethan Carter helped strangers without expecting rewards. Ethan Carter worked honestly. Ethan Carter loved deeply. Those qualities matter more than business experience. Asterisk. My throat tightened. No one ever believed in me like this. Victoria Hayes nodded. William Carter absolutely did. I looked through the office window. Emily Brooks called me poor yesterday. Victoria Hayes remained silent. I started believing Emily Brooks. Victoria Hayes answered calmly. Sometimes rejection hides an unexpected blessing. I smiled sadly. I hope you're right. Victoria Hayes closed the folders. We're finally ready for the biggest part of today's meeting. I looked back at Victoria Hayes. I'm listening. Victoria Hayes placed a thick leather binder in front of me. Everything inside belongs to you now. I frowned. I don't understand. Victoria Hayes opened the binder. William Carter owned Carter Global Holdings, Carter Energy, Carter Real Estate, Carter Logistics, and investments across several industries. I stared at the pages. That's impossible. It is completely real. There has to be another heir. There were other relatives. William Carter removed every relative from the final will. What? Greed. Victoria Hayes slid another document across the desk. Several family members tried forcing William Carter to transfer ownership before death. They actually did that. Yes. What happened? William Carter refused. And then, William Carter decided only one person deserved everything. I looked around the office again. That person is really me? Yes. My heart pounded. How much is everything worth? Victoria Hayes answered without hesitation. Current estimates place the total value above $1 billion. I froze. $1 billion. More than $1 billion. I laughed in disbelief. Yesterday I worried about paying next month's rent. Life changed very quickly. I looked at my rough hands. These hands fixed engines yesterday. Those same hands can lead a company tomorrow. I've never managed anything this large. You don't have to know everything today. What if I fail? Victoria Hayes smiled. William Carter expected that question. Victoria Hayes handed me another letter. I opened it immediately. Asterisk. Ethan, money can disappear. Character cannot. Honest people learn. Proud people pretend. Asterisk. I read the next line twice. Asterisk. Never believe success comes from knowing every answer. Success comes from asking honest questions and choosing trustworthy people. Asterisk. I folded the letter carefully. William Carter understood me better than I understood myself. Victoria Hayes nodded. William Carter believed humility would protect this company. I took a deep breath. I don't want expensive cars. No one expects that. I don't want people treating me differently because of money. That decision belongs to you. I only want to protect what William Carter built. Victoria Hayes smiled. That answer confirms William Carter made the correct choice. I signed several legal documents. Each signature felt unreal. When the final page disappeared into the folder, Victoria Hayes extended a hand. Congratulations, Mr. Carter. I accepted the handshake. Thank you. Your new life begins today. I walked toward the elevator carrying the letters instead of celebrating. The building looked exactly the same, but everything inside me felt different. Money had arrived overnight. Peace had not. Emily Brooks' words still echoed inside my mind. Asterisk, love cannot pay bills. Asterisk, maybe Emily Brooks had been right about bills. Emily Brooks had been completely wrong about my worth. I stopped outside the building and looked at my old pickup truck. Yesterday, that truck represented failure. Today, that truck reminded me where my journey began. I smiled. I'm keeping that truck. Across town, Emily Brooks sat inside an expensive restaurant with Brandon Collins. Emily Brooks lifted a glass. Brandon Collins' wedding plans should begin immediately. Brandon Collins smiled confidently. Anything Emily Brooks wants. I finally found someone successful. Brandon Collins laughed. Success deserves celebration. Emily Brooks reached across the table. Ethan Carter never could have given this life. Brandon Collins squeezed Emily Brooks' hand. Emily Brooks never has to worry about money again. Emily Brooks smiled proudly. That sounds perfect. Neither Emily Brooks nor Brandon Collins knew that only a few miles away, the man rejected for being poor had just inherited an empire larger than either of them could imagine. I started the old truck and looked toward the road ahead. For the first time since the broken wedding, hope replaced heartbreak. I whispered to myself, Emily Brooks chose money over love. Then I smiled. Now it's time to prove that real wealth isn't measured by what I own, but by the person I choose to become. 6 months changed everything. Every morning started inside the executive office that once belonged to William Carter. Every evening ended with another stack of reports waiting for my signature. The expensive office still felt unfamiliar, but the responsibility felt real. I never wanted people to fear me because of my title. I wanted people to respect me because of my choices. Victoria Hayes entered my office carrying several folders. Good morning, Ethan. Good morning, Victoria. Anything urgent? One recommendation. I'm listening. You need a financial advisor you can trust. I agree. Victoria Hayes smiled. Someone is waiting. A tall man entered the office with a confident but calm expression. Good morning, Michael Turner. I stood and shook Michael Turner's hand. Ethan Carter. Michael Turner smiled. William Carter trusted Michael Turner for almost 20 years. Then, I already trust Michael Turner. Michael Turner laughed. Trust should always be earned. I like that answer. Michael Turner opened a folder. The company earned strong profits, but several departments still operate with outdated systems. What should change first? Technology. I agree. Employee training also needs improvement. Approved. Michael Turner looked surprised. No questions. I repaired engines for years. Good tools always created better results. Michael Turner smiled. William Carter made the correct decision. Victoria Hayes quietly left the office. Michael Turner continued. Another issue exists. What issue? Several managers expect layoffs after modernization. I don't want layoffs. Keeping everyone costs money. Losing loyal employees costs more. Michael Turner nodded slowly. Interesting perspective. I remember worrying about every paycheck. I won't force honest workers to experience that fear. Michael Turner closed the folder. Employees will appreciate that decision. They deserve respect. Later that afternoon, I walked through the manufacturing plant. Machines filled the building with constant noise. Several employees noticed me. Conversations immediately stopped. One older worker removed protective gloves. Mr. Carter? Please call me Ethan. The worker looked uncomfortable. Really? Really? Another employee stepped closer. Rumors say new ownership plans, major cuts. No rumors today. Everyone became silent. I smiled. No honest employee loses a job because of modernization. Several faces immediately relaxed. One woman asked, training instead? Exactly. Applause slowly spread across the factory. The older worker smiled. No owner ever asked employees before making decisions. I started with nothing. I haven't forgotten. The worker extended a hand. Thank you. I accepted the handshake. No. Thank all of you. That evening, Sarah Carter visited my office. Sarah looked around the enormous room. Still looks strange. It feels strange. Sarah laughed. Ethan finally owns a building with working air conditioning. I miss the repair shop sometimes. Sarah sat across from me. Missing simple days doesn't mean returning. I know. Sarah studied my face carefully. Something still bothers Ethan. I sighed. Emily. Sarah nodded. Still thinking about revenge? Sometimes. Sarah leaned forward. Don't waste this opportunity. What if revenge feels deserved? Sarah answered immediately. Success already hurts more than revenge. I remained silent. Sarah continued. Emily expected failure. True. Emily expected regret. True. Emily never expected growth. I smiled slightly. Sarah always knows the right words. Sarah smiled back. Mom always said kindness wins longer battles. I remember. Sarah stood. Promise something. What? Never become another Brandon Collins. I don't even know Brandon Collins. Sarah walked toward the door. Greed always introduces itself eventually. After Sarah left, I looked across the city lights. The office felt quiet again. My phone vibrated. Michael Turner. Everything all right? Almost. What happened? I received financial reports connected to Brandon Collins. I frowned. Why would Brandon Collins matter? Brandon Collins recently became a business competitor. What kind of reports? Michael Turner paused. Reports suggesting reckless spending. I leaned back in my chair. Tell me everything. Michael Turner opened another file. Brandon Collins has been spending company money on private parties, luxury vacations, and unnecessary purchases. I frowned. Are those rumors? No. Those numbers come from public financial records. So Brandon Collins believes unlimited spending creates unlimited success. Exactly. I closed the file. That approach never lasts. Michael Turner nodded. Smart leaders build businesses. Careless leaders destroy businesses. I don't want to waste energy watching Brandon Collins fail. You don't have to. I have enough responsibility here. Michael Turner smiled. That's another reason William Carter trusted you. The following weeks passed quickly. I visited every department instead of hiding inside my office. I listened more than I spoke. One employee suggested improving safety equipment. I approved the request. Another employee asked for better health benefits. I approved that request too. Word spread across every company location. The new CEO actually listened. One afternoon, Victoria Hayes entered my office. A charity foundation invited you to tonight's fundraising gala. I've never attended an event like that. There's a first time for everything. I'll go. You'll represent Carter Global Holdings. Several hours later, I entered the ballroom wearing a tailored black suit. Crystal chandeliers covered the ceiling. Business leaders laughed while photographers captured every arrival. The atmosphere felt completely different from my old life. A familiar voice suddenly froze me. Ethan. I turned slowly. Emily Brooks stood only a few feet away. For a brief moment, neither of us spoke. Emily finally smiled nervously. I almost didn't recognize you. I recognize you. Emily looked at my suit. You look different. I've been busy. Emily glanced toward the company logo on my invitation. Carter Global Holdings? Yes. I heard the company hired a new CEO. It did. Emily stared into my eyes. That's you? Yes. Emily looked completely shocked. I don't understand. Neither did I 6 months ago. Emily hesitated. Congratulations. Thank you. Emily looked around the ballroom. I never imagined seeing you here. I never imagined being here. Emily lowered her voice. Life changed. It certainly did. Emily smiled sadly. I've thought about you. I hope you're doing well. Emily remained silent for several seconds. Brandon Collins stays busy. I've heard. Emily looked surprised. You know Brandon Collins? Only through business reports. Emily sighed quietly. Business reports don't show everything. What do they miss? Emily looked toward the crowded room. Brandon Collins treats employees badly. I remained silent. Brandon Collins humiliates people. I listened carefully. Brandon Collins believes money gives permission to disrespect everyone. I answered calmly. Money never changes character. Money reveals character. Emily looked at me with regret. I wish I understood that sooner. Before I could answer, another guest approached. Mr. Carter, the auction begins in 5 minutes. I'll be there. The guest walked away. Emily looked at me again. Ethan, can we talk another day? I thought carefully before answering. Maybe someday. That isn't a yes. It isn't a no. Emily nodded slowly. I understand. I hope you find what you're looking for. Emily forced a small smile. You already found it. I walked toward the stage without looking back. The charity auction raised millions of dollars for children's hospitals. When my donation appeared on the screen, applause filled the ballroom. The applause wasn't the best part of the evening. The best part was realizing I no longer needed Emily Brooks' approval to feel valuable. While driving home, I smiled at the city lights. Sarah Carter had been right. Success wasn't about proving Emily Brooks wrong. Success was about proving to myself that kindness, discipline, and honesty could build a better future than anger ever could. For the first time since the wedding, my past no longer controlled my future. 3 weeks passed after the charity gala, but Emily Brooks' face still crossed my mind more often than I wanted to admit. I didn't miss the relationship anymore. I missed the version of life I once believed would happen. Every morning, I reminded myself that moving forward required discipline, not memories. My office phone rang. "Good morning," I answered. "Michael Turner speaking. What's happening?" "Detective Daniel Foster requested a meeting." "A meeting with me?" "Yes." "What about?" "Brandon Collins." "I'll be there." 30 minutes later, Michael Turner and I enter the conference room. A tall man stood beside several folders. The man extended a hand. "Detective Daniel Foster." I accepted the handshake. "Ethan Carter." Detective Daniel Foster opened the first folder. "Thank you for coming." "What does this investigation have to do with me?" "Very little." "Then why am I here?" "Several financial transactions passed through companies connected to Brandon Collins." I crossed my arms. "My company has no partnership with Brandon Collins." "I know." "Then what do you need?" "Background information." "I don't know Brandon Collins personally." Detective Daniel Foster nodded. "I've already confirmed that." Michael Turner looked toward Detective Daniel Foster. "What exactly happened?" Detective Daniel Foster spread several documents across the table. "Luxury expenses hidden as business investments." I studied the paperwork. "That's a lot of money." "It gets worse." Detective Daniel Foster opened another file. "False invoices." I looked surprised. "Fraud." "Yes." "What else?" "Corporate funds used for private vacations." I slowly shook my head. "That's unbelievable." Detective Daniel Foster answered calmly. "Greed usually becomes expensive." Michael Turner leaned forward. "How serious is this case?" "Very serious." I remained quiet. Detective Daniel Foster looked directly at me. "Mr. Carter, your name appeared only because Brandon Collins tried approaching Carter Global Holdings through several middle companies. I rejected every proposal." "We confirmed that." "Then I can't help much." "You already helped." "How?" "Honest records make investigations easier." The meeting ended shortly afterward. While walking back toward my office, Michael Turner smiled. "You never chased revenge." "I didn't have time." "You made the correct decision." "I only wanted peace." Later that afternoon, my cell phone vibrated. An unfamiliar number appeared. I answered. "Hello." A familiar voice whispered. "Ethan." My heartbeat slowed. "Emily." "Thank you for answering." "What do you need?" "5 minutes." "I'm busy." "I know." Silence filled the call. Finally, Emily spoke again. "I made a mistake." I closed my eyes. "I already know." "I want to explain." "Some decisions don't need explanations." "They do." "I don't think they do." Emily's voice trembled. "Please." I looked through the office window before answering. "Talk." Emily took a deep breath. "Brandon Collins isn't the person Brandon Collins pretended to be." I remained silent. "Every day feels different now." "What changed?" "Everything." Emily's voice became softer. "Employees fear Brandon Collins." I said nothing. Friends disappeared. Another silence followed. The expensive parties stopped. I leaned against the window. Money changes quickly. I finally understand that. "What about respect?" Emily hesitated. "I lost that too." I felt sympathy trying to replace anger. I immediately pushed the feeling back. "What does Emily Brooks want from me?" "I want forgiveness." The question stayed between us. Forgiveness sounded simple. The memories made forgiveness feel impossible. I looked at the wedding photograph still hidden inside my desk drawer. For the first time in months, I wondered whether forgiving someone required forgetting the deepest wound of my life. I stayed silent for several seconds. Emily finally spoke again. "Please say something." I took a slow breath. "I don't know what Emily Brooks expects." "I don't expect another chance." "Then why call?" I couldn't carry the guilt anymore. I closed my eyes. Guilt doesn't erase choices. I know. Pain doesn't disappear because someone feels sorry. I know that too. Another long silence filled the call. Emily spoke quietly. "I remember every overtime shift." I listened without interrupting. "I remember every birthday gift." My grip tightened around the phone. "I remember every promise." I answered calmly. "I remember every broken promise." Emily started crying. "I deserve that." "No. Emily Brooks deserves honesty." "I've been honest today." "Then hear one honest answer." "I'm listening." "The wedding didn't break my heart because Emily Brooks left." Silence followed. The wedding broke my heart because trust disappeared. Emily whispered, "I'm sorry." I believe that. Can forgiveness ever happen? I honestly don't know. The conversation ended without another word. I placed the phone on my desk and stared through the office window. Victoria Hayes knocked softly before entering. "Everything all right?" "Not really." Victoria Hayes sat across from me. "Emily Brooks called." I guessed. Was the answer obvious? The expression on your face answered before your voice. I smiled weakly. Emily Brooks asked for forgiveness. Victoria Hayes folded both hands. "And what did you say?" I said I didn't know. Victoria Hayes nodded. "That's an honest answer." I expected anger. Instead, you found confusion. Exactly. Victoria Hayes looked toward the city skyline. Many people misunderstand forgiveness. Ow! They believe forgiveness rewards the person who caused pain. Doesn't it? No. What does forgiveness really do? Victoria Hayes answered gently. Forgiveness releases the person carrying the pain. I remained quiet. So forgiveness isn't weakness? Never. Then why does forgiving feel so difficult? Because deep wounds need time. I looked down at William Carter's letter inside my desk. William Carter believed character mattered more than money. And William Carter was right. I still want justice. Victoria Hayes smiled softly. Justice and revenge aren't the same. I know. Have you done anything to hurt Brandon Collins? No. Do you plan to? No. Then karma already has room to work. I thought about Detective Daniel Foster's investigation. I didn't expect everything to fall apart this quickly. Greed usually destroys itself. I almost feel sorry. Pity is human. I don't want bitterness controlling my future. Then don't feed bitterness. Victoria Hayes stood. One final piece of advice. I'm listening. Build the future you wanted. What if the future looks completely different now? Victoria Hayes smiled. Different doesn't mean worse. After Victoria Hayes left, I walked through the company headquarters. Employees greeted me with genuine smiles. Several workers thanked me for protecting jobs. One young employee said, "Working here changed my family's life." I smiled. "Keep doing great work." Driving home later that evening, I realized something important. Emily Brooks had chosen money. Brandon Collins had chosen greed. William Carter had chosen character. Now my own choice stood directly in front of me. I could spend years looking backward, or I could spend every new day becoming the man William Carter believed I could become. I smiled as the sunset filled the road ahead. For the first time since the wedding, revenge no longer felt like victory. Peace did. Almost 2 months passed after Emily Brooks called asking for forgiveness. Life became quieter, but peace didn't arrive overnight. Every day brought another decision that tested my character. William Carter's letters remained inside my desk, and I read one page every morning before starting work. Those words reminded me that real leadership began with self-control. One afternoon, my assistant knocked on my office door. "Mr. Carter, come in. Emily Brooks is downstairs." I stayed silent. Emily Brooks refuses to leave. I looked through the office window. How long has Emily Brooks been waiting? Almost 2 hours. I closed a folder on my desk. I'll come down. A few minutes later, I entered the lobby. Emily Brooks stood near the entrance holding a small envelope. Red eyes revealed hours of crying. Emily looked at me. "Thank you for coming. I only have a few minutes." "I understand." Silence filled the lobby. Finally, Emily spoke. "I don't know where to begin. Start with the truth." Emily nodded slowly. "I chose money instead of love." I remained quiet. I believed expensive gifts meant happiness. I listened without interrupting. I believed Brandon Collins could give me everything. Emily wiped away tears. I was completely wrong. I folded my arms. What changed? Emily laughed bitterly. Reality. I waited. The parties disappeared. I said nothing. The luxury disappeared. Another pause followed. The kindness never existed. I looked directly into Emily's eyes. Kindness cannot be purchased. Emily lowered her head. "I know that now. You learned an expensive lesson. The most expensive lesson of my life." Emily handed me the envelope. I wrote everything inside. I accepted the envelope but didn't open it. I don't need excuses. There are no excuses. Then what's inside? My apology. I looked at the envelope for several seconds. Words cannot change the wedding day. I know. Words cannot erase humiliation. I know. Emily's voice broke. I remember every cruel sentence. I answered calmly. So do I. I replay that day every night. So do I. Another silence separated us. Emily finally whispered, I destroyed the best relationship I ever had. I took a slow breath. Maybe. No. Emily shook her head firmly. Not maybe. I understand. Emily looked at me with tears. Do you hate me? I answered honestly. No. Emily looked surprised. No. Hate requires energy. What replaced hate? Acceptance. Emily struggled to hold back more tears. Can acceptance ever become forgiveness? I don't know. I deserve that answer. I slipped the envelope into my jacket pocket. I'll read this later. Thank you. Emily hesitated before asking another question. Does any chance still exist for us? I looked around the quiet lobby before answering. The relationship ended inside that church. Emily closed trembling eyes. I expected that. I won't lie. I appreciate honesty. At that moment, Michael Turner walked through the entrance carrying several documents. Michael noticed Emily immediately. I'll wait outside. No, I replied. This conversation is almost finished. Michael nodded respectfully and stepped aside. Emily looked at me one final time. I never congratulated you. For what? For becoming the man everyone respects. I smiled slightly. I always wanted respect more than wealth. Emily nodded. I finally understand why. Emily slowly turned toward the exit. Before reaching the door, Emily stopped. I'm truly sorry, Ethan. I believe you. Emily quietly walked away. I watched the doors close behind Emily. For the first time since the broken wedding, my heart felt lighter, not because the past had disappeared, but because I no longer wanted the past to control the future. Michael Turner waited until the lobby became quiet. Everything all right? I nodded. I think so. Michael looked toward the front doors. Emily Brooks looked heartbroken. Emily Brooks finally understood the price of one bad decision. Michael handed me the documents. Another update arrived. What happened? Detective Daniel Foster completed the investigation. I opened the report. What was the result? Brandon Collins faces multiple criminal charges. I slowly turned another page. Fraud. Yes. Money laundering. Yes. Corporate theft. Yes. I closed the folder. So everything finally caught up. Michael nodded. Karma didn't need any help. I never wanted Brandon Collins destroyed. I know. I only wanted peace. Michael smiled. Peace usually arrives after people stop chasing revenge. Later that evening, Sarah Carter visited my house carrying dinner. Sarah placed the food on the kitchen table. Long day. The longest. Sarah smiled. Emily Brooks came today. How did Sarah know? Michael Turner called. I laughed. Nothing stays secret. Sarah sat across from me. How did everything go? Better than expected. Any anger? No. Any shouting? No. Any revenge? No. Sarah reached across the table. I'm proud of Ethan. I almost wasn't. What changed? I realized revenge couldn't repair the wedding. Sarah nodded. Exactly. I also realized forgiveness doesn't always mean rebuilding relationships. Correct. It only means refusing to carry hatred forever. Sarah smiled warmly. Mom would have loved hearing those words. I looked down for a moment. I think Mom already knows. The following morning, I called Victoria Hayes. Good morning. Good morning, Ethan. I want to start something new. What kind of project? A foundation. Victoria Hayes sounded interested. Tell me more. I want to help hardworking families. Why? I remember worrying about rent. Victoria Hayes remained silent. I remember skipping meals to save money. I remember. I don't want honest people losing hope because life becomes difficult. Victoria Hayes smiled through the phone. William Carter would be proud. Within weeks, the Carter Family Foundation officially opened. Scholarships helped students finish school. Emergency grants helped struggling families keep homes. Small business loans gave mechanics, electricians, and construction workers opportunities to grow. During the opening ceremony, reporters surrounded me. One reporter asked, "Why donate so much money?" I smiled. Because someone believed in me before success arrived. Another reporter asked, "Is this your greatest achievement?" I answered honestly, "No." "What is?" "Learning that money changes lives only when money serves people." Applause filled the room. Driving home that evening, I passed the small repair shop where my journey began. I parked across the street for several minutes. Nothing about the building had changed. Everything about me had. I no longer measured success by expensive offices or billion-dollar companies. I measured success by peaceful sleep, honest friendships, loyal family, and the ability to help strangers without expecting anything in return. The broken wedding once felt like the end of my life. Now, I understood the broken wedding had quietly become the beginning of the life I was always meant to live. As the sunset painted the sky, I smiled and whispered, "Thank you, William Carter." Then I started the engine and drove toward a future built on purpose instead of pain. Emily broke the silence first. "I won't contact you again." I nodded. "I think that's the right decision." Emily smiled through tears. "I truly hope life brings you happiness." "It already has." "I'm glad." Emily stepped back. "Goodbye, Ethan." "Goodbye, Emily." I watched Emily walk away without looking back. For the first time since the wedding day, I felt complete closure. The next morning, I drove to the cemetery carrying fresh white lilies. William Carter's grave rested beneath a large oak tree overlooking the quiet hillside. I placed the flowers beside the headstone. "Thank you." The wind moved gently through the trees. "I wish we had met." I smiled. But maybe William Carter already knew everything that mattered. I removed the folded letter that had stayed inside my wallet for months. I still read these words whenever life becomes difficult. I looked at the engraved name on the stone. William Carter believed character mattered more than wealth. I took a slow breath. I promised that belief won't disappear with me. Footsteps approached behind me. I turned around. Sarah Carter and Victoria Hayes stood a few feet away. Sarah smiled warmly. "We hoped Ethan wouldn't mind company." "I don't mind." Victoria Hayes looked toward the grave. "William Carter would have been proud today." "I hope so." Sarah placed a hand on my shoulder. "Mom and Dad would feel proud too." I felt my eyes become wet. "I still miss everyone." Sarah nodded. "Missing people never really ends. But love never ends either." We stood together in comfortable silence. After several minutes, Victoria Hayes smiled. "The board approved the newest foundation project." I looked at Victoria. "Already? Construction begins next month." Sarah looked curious. "What project?" I smiled. "A free vocational training center." Sarah's eyes brightened. "Really? I want young people to learn useful skills without worrying about expensive tuition." Victoria Hayes laughed softly. "William Carter built businesses." I finished the sentence. "I want to build opportunities." Sarah hugged me tightly. "That's the best investment anyone could make." A week later, I stood before hundreds of employees inside the company auditorium. Everyone applauded as I walked onto the stage. I raised one hand. "Thank you." The room became quiet. I've learned something important. Everyone listened carefully. Money can build offices. I paused. Money can buy buildings. Another pause. But money cannot buy trust. Several employees nodded. Money cannot buy loyalty. The room remained silent. Money cannot buy peace. I smiled. Those gifts come from honesty, kindness, and respect. The applause grew louder than before. After the meeting ended, one young mechanic approached me. "Mr. Carter?" "Call me Ethan." The young man smiled. "I grew up hearing your story." I laughed. "That makes me sound old." The young man laughed too. "Your story gave me hope. Never stop believing in yourself." "I won't." Driving home that evening, I passed the little church where my wedding had never happened. I slowed the truck for a moment. Instead of pain, I felt gratitude. That painful day had opened the door to a better life, stronger character, and a greater purpose. I finally understood the greatest lesson William Carter left behind. The richest person isn't the one with the largest bank account. The richest person is the one who can forgive without becoming weak, succeed without becoming arrogant, and help others without expecting anything in return. I smiled as the sun disappeared beyond the horizon. My journey had never been about becoming a billionaire. My journey had always been about becoming the man I was meant to be. The end. Almost 1 year had passed since the wedding that changed my life forever. Every morning reminded me how quickly life could collapse and how unexpectedly life could begin again. The pain hadn't completely disappeared, but the pain no longer controlled my decisions. Michael Turner entered my office carrying a newspaper. Today's headline belongs to Brandon Collins. I accepted the newspaper. The front page showed Brandon Collins walking into a courthouse surrounded by reporters. I looked at Michael. So today is finally the day. Michael nodded. The trial ends this afternoon. I folded the newspaper. I never imagined everything would end like this. Neither did Brandon Collins. A few hours later, Victoria Hayes walked into my office. The court reached a verdict. I stood immediately. What happened? Victoria Hayes smiled gently. Brandon Collins was found guilty. I remained silent. Several prison charges. I slowly sat down again. So, it's over. Victoria Hayes nodded. The business empire is gone. What about the remaining companies? Sold to repay debts. I looked through the office window. I don't feel happy. Victoria Hayes looked surprised. Really? I expected satisfaction. What do you feel instead? Relief. Victoria Hayes smiled. That's healthier than revenge. My phone vibrated before I could answer. An unfamiliar number appeared. I answered. Hello. A quiet voice replied. It's Emily. I closed my eyes for a moment. How are you? I've been better. I heard about Brandon Collins. So did everyone. Silence filled the call. Emily finally spoke. I wanted one final conversation. I'm listening. I won't ask for another chance. Thank you. I only wanted to say something face to face. I thought for several seconds. Where? The small park near the old church. When? This evening. I'll come. Thank you. The call ended. Victoria Hayes looked at me. Everything all right? Emily wants one final meeting. Victoria Hayes nodded. Go. Should I? Unfinished conversations sometimes keep old wounds open. I don't expect anything. You don't need to. That evening, I arrived at the quiet park. The same wooden benches remained beside the walking path. Emily already waited there. When Emily saw me, Emily slowly stood. Thank you for coming. I promised. Emily smiled sadly. I almost didn't recognize myself this past year. I understand. Emily looked toward the sunset. I blamed everyone except myself. I stayed silent. Eventually, I accepted the truth. What truth? My own choices created my own pain. I nodded. Taking responsibility changes people. Emily looked directly into my eyes. I finally understand why William Carter trusted you. I looked surprised. How do you know about William Carter? People talk. I suppose they do. Emily took a deep breath. I don't deserve forgiveness. I answered honestly. Maybe nobody deserves forgiveness. Emily looked confused. What does that mean? I think forgiveness is a gift people choose to give, not something anyone earns. Tears filled Emily's eyes. I spent months hoping life would return to the way everything used to be. I spent months hoping for the same thing. Emily looked down. But life never moves backward. No. Emily slowly removed a small silver ring from a purse. I kept this. I recognized the engagement ring I had placed on the church altar. Emily held the ring toward me. I think this belongs to you. I looked at the ring for several quiet seconds before gently closing Emily's hand around it. No. Emily looked surprised. You should keep it. Why? Not as a symbol of love. Emily waited. As a reminder that one decision can change an entire lifetime. Emily lowered the hand holding the ring. I'll never forget. Neither of us spoke again for several long moments as the evening sky slowly darkened above the empty park.